Most royal watchers were surprised, to say the least, to see Meghan Markle pop up at the Balenciaga fashion show. Now, Rebecca, this was a significant moment for Meghan, wasn't it? A significant appearance.
It was a significant moment.
I heard you calling.
Paris, the city of lights, glamour, and undeniable power. But last night, that same glittering city turned into something else entirely. The city of tears. Because right there, under the flashing cameras and the electric hum of Balenciaga's runway, Meghan Markle, yes, the Duchess of Sussex, watched her carefully curated world crumble before millions of eyes. This wasn't just another fancy night in Paris. Oh no, it was drama, it was emotion, it was chaos wrapped in couture. What unfolded wasn't just a fashion show gone wrong, it was a full-blown emotional unraveling, live and raw, playing out like a scene from a tragic movie. Everything had started off so perfectly. Meghan arrived in Paris for Balenciaga's highly anticipated fall-winter showcase, her first big European public appearance since she and Prince Harry stepped away from royal life. This was supposed to be her grand comeback. Every single detail screamed, reclaiming the spotlight. Her hair, sleek and flawless. Her gown, custom-made, shimmering under those relentless camera flashes. When she stepped out onto that carpet, she looked like a woman ready to take back her story. You could feel it. This was her moment. But fate had other plans.
Markle, okay, the disaster tourist is back with a vengeance. She was in Paris over the weekend attending the Balenciaga.
For months, Meghan had been quietly plotting this return. Insiders said she saw Paris Fashion Week as her European redemption arc. Her way of rewriting the headlines after a string of lukewarm receptions in the US. From her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, to those fading Netflix deals. Paris was supposed to mark the beginning of her rebranding era. The message was crystal clear. Meghan wasn't retreating. She was re-entering, armed with Balenciaga, confidence, and a whole lot of poise. But destiny had a darker script waiting. Somewhere between the glitz and glamour, the polite smiles and the popping champagne, something inside her cracked. At first, it was barely noticeable. A slightly trembling smile, a flicker in her eyes. You could have dismissed it as nerves or exhaustion. But then, the moment came, the one that stopped the entire internet cold. During the live broadcast right there in front of the cameras, Meghan's composure simply broke. Her face tensed up, her hand shook. She leaned toward her handler, whispering something, inaudible but urgent. And then, she turned away. Seconds later, it happened. She started crying. On camera, the clip spread like wildfire. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Within minutes, everyone was talking about it. Headlines exploded. Meghan Markle breaks down during Balenciaga show. Emotional collapse caught live. The gossip world was on fire. But the question burned hotter than the Paris lights. What pushed Meghan Markle to tears? Behind the scenes, things had apparently been tense. Really tense, long before the first model even hit the runway. Insiders claimed that although Meghan's invitation to the show was genuine, it wasn't quite as exclusive as her team had made it seem. Big names like Bella Hadid and Dua Lipa had the front row treatment, while Meghan, she was placed several rows back. One insider spilled to page 6. She expected front row treatment. She thought she'd be sitting beside the creative director or at least near the major Hollywood faces. But she wasn't even in the main press lineup, ouch. And that sting, it only got worse. Some stylists and influencers allegedly whispered about her look, calling it off-theme and too heavy for Balenciaga's minimalist vibe. The shade was real, and the whispers, loud enough to cut through the music. To top it off, Balenciaga's creative director, Demna, was seen greeting other VIPs with warm hugs and kisses. But for Meghan, just a polite nod. That was it. You could almost feel the tension rising. People sitting near her said she looked uncomfortable all night. One journalist claimed she kept checking her phone again and again, probably waiting for coverage to go live, they joked. Then came the breaking point. Halfway through the show, the massive screens in the venue began playing a cinematic montage, a tribute to Balenciaga's rebellious legacy, showing iconic women, bold fashion, and flashes of fame. But then, right in the middle of it, something shocking appeared. A photo of Meghan and Harry leaving Buckingham Palace in 2020, then another, a tabloid headline flashing, "Duchess divides opinion." And finally, a slow-motion zoom on her infamous Oprah interview.
Wanting around like she's Queen Cersei in Game of Thrones.
Gasps filled the room. You could hear the disbelief ripple through the audience. Was this deliberate? Was Balenciaga trolling her? Turns out it wasn't malicious. The montage was meant to celebrate cultural disruptors, people who challenged norms and faced public scrutiny. Meghan's image was included as a symbol of rebellion. But let's be honest, Context didn't matter, because at that moment, with every camera pointed at her, Meghan froze. Her face dropped. That trademark polished smile vanished. You could see it, the shock, the humiliation, the pain swirling behind her eyes. She leaned in toward her publicist, whispering something that looked like, "Turn it off." And then the tears came. She turned away from the screen, tears streaming down her face. The camera caught everything. Within minutes, social media was ablaze. Fans rushed to defend her, calling it a moment of real vulnerability. Others weren't so kind, claiming it was karma for her years of media control. One viral comment summed up the internet's mood: Paris doesn't do pity. She came to conquer the runway and ended up crying on it. Harsh? Absolutely. But that's how it played out. Later, fashion critics confirmed that Balenciaga hadn't cleared the footage with Meghan's team. So yes, she was blindsided, and for a woman who's built her entire brand on controlling her narrative, that must have felt like the ultimate betrayal. Backstage, things were reportedly chaotic. Meghan locked herself inside her private dressing suite for nearly 20 minutes. Staff members described hearing muffled sobs and tense phone calls. One of her security guards was overheard saying, "She's done. She's leaving," and she did. Before the final model walked the runway, Meghan slipped out the back, head down, escorted by 2 guards and her shaken assistant. But of course, the cameras didn't miss a thing. Footage of Meghan leaving, eyes red, mascara smudged, clutching her phone, became the image of the night. By morning, that clip had been viewed over 20 million times, and as usual, the internet had theories. Some said she broke down because of the montage. Others claimed it was because of the snubbing from fashion's elite, but a whisper started spreading among Paris insiders that something deeper had been brewing. A French journalist claimed Meghan had been overheard arguing on the phone before the event. Something about Netflix, image rights, and control over footage. If that's true, then this wasn't just a single bad moment. It was the final straw after months of emotional and professional pressure. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear. Paris saw the real Meghan. Not the polished duchess, not the influencer, but a woman under immense pressure, crumbling in real time. And that's what made it so haunting. Because this wasn't just one bad night. This was the result of countless cracks that had been forming for years. Fading deals, critical press, and the whispers in both Hollywood and royal circles that maybe, just maybe, the magic was wearing off. By sunrise, every major outlet was running the same footage. Tears in Paris. Meghan Markle's breakdown shocks Fashion Week. Balenciaga backlash. Did Meghan get blindsided? A duchess unraveled. Her team rushed to spin it, claiming it was an emotional response to being honored as a cultural icon. But the world wasn't buying it, because the rawness of that moment, the trembling lip, the watery eyes, the quick escape through the side door, told a story no PR statement could ever cover up. The Duchess, who once told the world she was thriving, not surviving, for the first time in years, she looked like she was barely holding it together. And somewhere back in Montecito, Harry's silence said more than any statement ever could. By the next morning, Paris had already moved on to its next show. But the internet? Oh, the internet never forgets. That 30-second clip of Meghan Markle crying had turned into a full-blown digital storm. Remixes, slow-motion edits, dramatic music overlays. It was everywhere. The Duchess wiping away tears as the Paris lights shimmered around her like broken glass. And if her team thought they could bury it? Not a chance. Within hours, sources said her camp went into crisis mode. An insider from Montecito described the mood as total panic. Meghan had reportedly demanded the footage be taken down, but Balenciaga owned the rights. There was nothing she could do. The genie was out of the bottle. Meanwhile, the media went into an absolute feeding frenzy. Tabloids exploded with every headline you could imagine. Some called it a public meltdown, while others labeled it a rare human moment. But honestly, most of them were ruthless. British outlets especially tore into her. The Sun ran the headline, "Tears, Tantrums, and Tension. Meghan's Paris breakdown stuns fashion elite." And the Daily Mail, they practically wrote essays dissecting her every move, the trembling lip, the shaking hands, the smudged mascara, even the way she clutched her chest.
Balenciaga creative director, let's look at this.
One commentator wrote, and ouch, this one hurt. For a woman who built her empire on image control, losing composure in Paris was like a general dropping her sword mid-battle. But the drama didn't end with the headlines. Oh no, behind the scenes, it got worse. Apparently, Balenciaga's team wasn't thrilled either. According to insiders, they viewed Meghan's tears not as a moment of sympathy, but as a disruption. They wanted elegance, not emotion, one insider whispered. They didn't invite her to make a scene. And as if that wasn't enough, some of the guests allegedly mocked her departure. A viral TikTok video showed two influencers near the runway giggling as they whispered, "She's crying again." Over what this time? Brutal. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle went into full spin mode. Within hours, her spokesperson released a statement. Polished, careful, textbook PR. It read, "The Duchess of Sussex was deeply moved by Balenciaga's tribute to women who've endured public scrutiny. The emotional moment reflected her compassion and connection to the message of resilience and empowerment." It sounded perfect, too perfect. And the internet noticed. Comments flooded in, accusing Meghan of spin-doctoring the tears. People said it was another attempt to twist the story, to make herself the victim. Others rolled their eyes at the statement's wording. Resilience, empowerment, compassion, buzzwords, the same ones her team always used, but this time they didn't work. Because social media had already decided the story, Meghan Markle wasn't the composed Duchess that night. She was the woman who cracked. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. She wanted Paris to remember her as a fashion icon. Instead, they'll remember the tears, and honestly, it was true. Behind the PR walls and elegant facades, there was still a woman. And insiders said she was devastated. She felt completely humiliated, a source close to the Sussex Circle told People magazine. It wasn't supposed to go like this. She really thought she'd rebuilt enough goodwill to be welcome back. But Paris reminded her, people are still divided. And that's the harsh truth. Because even among royal watchers, reactions were split down the middle. Some fans defended her, saying the emotion showed she was human. That maybe, just maybe, the constant scrutiny had finally broken through her armor. But the majority? They saw it as something else entirely. A symbol that her once unshakable public persona was starting to fracture. And just when Meghan thought it couldn't get worse, the internet proved her wrong. And for Meghan, that's the one thing she fears most, losing control of her narrative. By the time she flew back to California, the storm hadn't settled. American outlets picked up the story, each one adding its own sting. Variety called it an emotional PR disaster. The New York Post simply wrote, "Paris Fashion Week, Meghan Markle's comeback crumbles in real time." And then came the fallout, and if that wasn't enough, insiders said that Harry, who'd stayed behind in California, was furious. Apparently, he had warned her. "Don't go," he told her. "It's too risky." Too high profile, but Meghan had insisted. "I need to remind the world who I am," she'd said.
Markle has come under fire for attending the Balenciaga fashion show after the brand sustained enormous reputational damage for producing.
But because, for the first time in a long time, Meghan Markle, the Duchess who built an empire on image, couldn't hold it together when the cameras rolled. That night, Paris wasn't the city of lights. It was the city of truth. And for Meghan Markle, it became the night her fairy tale reflection shattered right before the world's eyes.